thinking the 80s were so cool, I would go back there, but I'd probably hop on a bus and go somewhere more fun, like maybe LA. LA would be fun in the 80s. I would love to roller skate with all the bright, hot colors and try good Coke and, you know, all the things.
Try all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the Opening Kill podcast.
Before we begin, a quick warning. Opening Kill is a horror podcast that contains adult language, disturbing themes, and graphic descriptions of violent acts, especially the kills featured in each film. We also dive deep into plot details and character arcs. So if you haven't seen the movie we're covering, expect full spoilers ahead. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
Opening Kill, the horror podcast that slices deep into the genre we love. We're talking slashers, supernatural nightmares, creature features, and everything in between. Every episode, we break down a different horror film. From its killer cold open to its blood-soaked finale, we track the body count, analyze the scares, and give credit where it's gruesomely due. From iconic franchises to hidden gems, you'll find them all here. Hosted by filmmaker and horror scholar Brian O'Connor and Michael Duran, lifelong genre fan and scream scene specialist. So sharpen your knives, turn off the lights, and let's get into it. This is Opening Kill.
And welcome to episode 53 of Opening Kill. I'm Brian O'Connor, along with my co-host, Shay Astor, sitting in for Michael Duran this week. Hello, Shay.
Hello, hello. Good to be back.
Good to have you back. And talking about a very fun movie that came out just a couple of years ago called Totally Killer. That is this week's film, and we're very excited to bring that to you. Have you seen any of the new movies that are out in theaters yet? I am so far behind on that. I know Iron Lung came out, and a bunch of other ones. Return to Silent Hill is out. Have you seen any? Have you had any time to see any of these yet?
No. I mean, okay, every year I do the Oscar nomination watch where I just try to go through and watch everything that's nominated. It is a chore and a task most of the time. So I did want to talk, though. I saw Begonia. Have you seen that one yet?
I have not. That is actually the next one on my, because I do the same thing as you, being, a filmmaker. I love the Oscars, and so I try and watch all 10 before the awards. That's the first one on my list. I did see Sinners, obviously. That was in theaters last year, but I have not seen it. What did you think?
You know, it was interesting. It was weird, and it had really creative makeup and costuming.
Okay.
But then I learned that it's actually based off of a Korean film from 2003 called Save the Green Planet. And I went, oh, damn, this isn't original. I was so intrigued. It was weird. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but it does have I want to rewatch it again almost because it was creative. But now I'm going, oh, well, I should watch the Korean film that it's based off of and then come back with my thoughts on that because I thought it was original, man. Oh well.
Dang.
It's worth watching, though, for sure.
Okay. Well, I definitely will get to that. I did watch a horror film this last week, one that I missed from 2015 called We Are Still Here. It's a supernatural slow burn about a grieving couple who relocate to a quiet New England village, and they're trying to get a fresh start. They move straight into a house that has a very active and extremely pissed off past. Was written and directed by Ted Gagan. The film stars Andrew Sensing, and also Barbara Crampton was in this too, and a few others. Basically, grief, ghosts, and the worst real estate decision since Amityville. And I got to tell you, when it first started, I was not impressed by the production value. And I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be one of those. And some of the acting was a bit rough at the beginning. But I got to say, within probably 15 minutes or so, it got going, and I really liked this movie. So, ended up being a really solid twist on a haunted house horror film. So, yeah, it's called We Are Still Here, came out in 2015. Highly recommend it.
That's what I do love about doing this podcast is there are movies we've missed in the past. Like, we're pretty good about it now of coming up with like a scare preview and being on the hunt for things. But,
Mhm.
before this, it was a little harder to track down some interesting movies.
Yes,
Not all of them
it
are
was.
great though. We know that. But
No,
the,
we have run
the,
into a few.
yeah, but that one sounds good. I will have to add that to my list, to the ever-growing list. Ay, ay,
Have you
ay.
seen a movie called Frogs?
Well, I have now, off of your recommendation. We gotta watch it together, though. We gotta do a podcast on it.
So it is on the season schedule for later this
Mhm.
year, and it's one of the worst movies ever. So we're gonna have a lot of fun with that. But yeah,
We gotta
Frogs.
talk about it. We gotta talk about it.
We will talk about it. All right, well, let's get into this week's film. It is Totally Killer, directed by Kanachka Khan, written by David Madelon, Sasha Pearl Raver, Jen D'Angelo. It was released October 6th, 2023 on Prime, so no box office data. It was never a theatrical release. It's 106 minutes long, rated R, filmed in British Columbia, Canada. Stars the lovely and talented Kiernan Shipka, Olivia Holt, Charlie Gillespie, Lachlan Monroe, and many, many others. And as I mentioned, it's an original Amazon Prime, so no box office data. But yeah, tagline: "Murder is so 1987." It was nominated for 14 different awards, and it actually won one for what was it? It was a Guild of Music Supervisors Award for Best Music Supervision for a non-theatrically released film. So it's like they really had to stretch to make up that award, but there it is.
Give it something.
You got to give it something. So it is a time traveler comedy. It's about a teenage girl who accidentally gets sent back to 1987 after her mother is murdered by an infamous serial killer. She's disguised as a foreign exchange student, and she teams up with her mom's teenage self to stop the original killing spree and save her family. And it's very interesting how they did this classic slasher tropes with a definite Back to the Future energy. The film turns nostalgia, true crime culture, and butterfly effect chaos into a bloody hilarious ride. So that is it in a nutshell. So let's get into it. So it starts with a flashback, sort of, in the fictional small town of Vernon. Three teenage girls, Tiffany Clark, Marissa Song, and Heather Hernandez, who were brutally murdered in 1987 by the infamous Sweet 16 killer. They were each stabbed 16 times on the night of their 16th birthday. Boy, that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
The killer was dressed in all black, wearing a mask which strangely resembled Beavis from Beavis and Butthead, if you look at it, especially from the side.
I had to look up what were they trying to reference there, and they did say they were going for Kiefer Sutherland, Rob Lowe, and then a little bit of Johnny Bravo, which I could see that one. However, there's a few times in this movie, I'm going to point it out, where they're making 90s references in a late 80s movie.
Right.
So the timeline gets a little muddled, and we're not allowed to muddle here, in my opinion. I will call it out. So
please do. And I noticed a couple of things, but it sounds like you probably saw more than I did. So we fast forward present day, which was 2023, and teenager Jamie Hughes is headed out for a Halloween night concert, leaving her mom, Pam, at home to hand out candy. And Pam just happens to be the former friend of the original victims. And that night, the Sweet 16 killer returns after 35 years, and we get this.
The opening kill.
So he breaks into the home. Pam's there by herself. What I love about this scene is because Pam was friends with the other three girls who were murdered, she's prepared. She's got like weapons stashed in secret places all throughout the house. One point it's like this little, I don't know what it is. It's on the wall and she opens it up and pulls out a gun. It's hidden in there. She doesn't get to use it because the killer's basically on top of her, but she is fighting back. I mean, this is a very strong defense here.
I agree. I mean, she did, Jamie, the teenagers, thinks her parents are so strict, especially her mom. Don't we all know that one? But,
Mhm.
taught her self-defense.
I will give this a butcher knife kill. This was pretty cool.
Yep, I agree. We kind of did care about the character a little bit. We know she's a mom, and she did try to fight, so that was great. So, yeah, butcher knife. She does prepare. Unfortunately, it is not enough, though.
No, because this guy's got some moves, and he finally
Yeah.
gets her to the ground and finally stabs her to death for the opening kill. So Jamie obviously mourning the loss of her mom, and she helps her friend Amelia work on a time machine that she is building for a school science project. She also learns from a true crime podcaster, Chris Dubasage, that her mother once received a mysterious note from the killer years earlier saying, "You're next one day," which is interesting.
Yeah.
And
I do
so
love the fact we got some podcast drama going on now.
I
It
love
felt very
this.
fitting to do this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. And got to mention this guy's dad, the podcast, and this guy's probably in his 50s, I would
Yeah.
think. His father is a Pulitzer Award winning news reporter in town. And so he's a little bit envious that his dad has gotten all this attention. And his podcast, at one point, he's talking to Jamie and he says, "Well, I've won 6, blah, 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 whatever awards they are." And she goes, "Well, that's not the same as the Pulitzer, right?" And he's like, "Well, no, it's not," which I thought was pretty funny.
Right. We do see him. He does one of those, like a ghost tour sort of thing through town
Yes.
where they go to the 3 locations. And it is funny because when we think of a serial killer, we do think of a larger number than just 3.
Right.
However, they even make a comment out of it of like, oh yeah, should always thought there should be more killers, like more deaths.
Well, yeah, because they're standing out in front of this burger joint, and the waitress, I can't remember her name, she comes out and she's giving free samples to like the 6 people who are on this tour, who are all wearing the killer mask, by the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she says exactly what you said. And I've always thought that serial killers should be more. And then he makes some snide comment to her, and that's whatever her name is, ladies and gentlemen, who thinks that we should have had more murders. And she's like, "Well, no, I didn't say that." So
Yeah.
the school science fair is being held at an abandoned amusement park, which back in 1987 was the place for the kids to hang out. Everyone went there and they got it. The principal got it because it was free, basically, for the science fair is what they say later. And so her friend Amelia is building this time machine, and it's inside of one of those old photo booths. And she's putting in all the equipment, and her mother is a scientist as well. So she's using her mother's plans. Her mother doesn't know, but she's using her mother's plans to try and build this time machine. So, so Jamie's there, they're during the day and they're kind of talking about everything. And so later that night, Jamie is chased by the masked killer. She goes back at night and she's chased in. She ends up running into that time machine, and it's set to October 27th, 1987. And earlier she asked Amelia, "Well, why is it set for that date?" And she goes, "Well, it's the first day of the Sweet 16 murders. And I was thinking if we were able to ever get back to that day, maybe we could stop them," which gives Jamie the idea, well, maybe we can go back in time and prevent my mom from dying if we change everything that happened with the original killings. So, and that's kind of the premise now is they're going to go back in time, or at least Jamie is going to try and go back in time and fix, this problem that happened and
Yeah, what a good
resulted.
friend.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And resulted indirectly in her mother's death because the killer was still out there. And 35 years later, he comes back. So the problem is the machine isn't working right. It's missing one thing. And the killer has the knife and he slashes through the cloth wall on the photo booth. And he ends up plunging the knife into the control, which gives it an extra metal conductor or something like that. And that kicks the time machine into gear and off she goes. And I love how they did this because it goes back to that date, October 27th, 1987. And it's kind of blurry and the sound is echoey, but you hear the song Venus by Bananarama kind of starting and then stopping. And she whips open the curtain, the song comes in full, and all of a sudden it's 1987 again. The kids are all over the place walking through this amusement park, and the time machine has worked. And she realizes, oh, maybe we can do something to, prevent these murders.
I do love the use of color here. Whenever we see a movie made nowadays, going back to the 80s, it's all about the color, the hair, and they got it right. It was on that borderline of, a costume you pick up at Spirit Halloween, but also what people actually did wear. Because, of course, the clothes were hysterical back then. They were not attractive most of the time.
Well, I'll tell you, between the two of us, I'm the only one that actually was a high school student in 1987, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you they got so much of this right. And we're going to start at the school because she has to go and, find these girls. So, of course, you're going to go to the high school. The thing I love about this, there are so many politically incorrect things in today's world that you can't say or refer to. In 1987, that was so different. You could there were certain things you couldn't say, but nothing like it is today. And one of the first things that she sees when she steps out of the photo booth, there's a couple walking towards her. They want to use it. And she's telling him, no, it's broken. It's out of order. You can't use it. But the guy is wearing a t-shirt that says FBI. And underneath it, it says Federal Booby Inspector. And she looks at him and she goes, by the way, your shirt is super problematic. You can't do that.
Oh, yeah.
And she turns her back and the wife's like, oh, I like your shirt. And they walk off. But you see moments like this throughout this entire film where she's having to correct the friends that she meets because they're doing things like this. It's very, very funny.
You can tell, okay, this movie was made by people that I don't think really lived in the 80s, or maybe they were maybe they were born in the 80s. So it's one of those, it's a fan service kind of thing, just like Stranger Things is. A lot of our generation really liked it. The millennials, the Gen Zers, we like being nostalgic about a time we never actually lived in.
Right.
But it is funny, this movie points out the problems that were involved. And of course, Jamie does try to point them out every time she can of, you can't say that, that's so problematic she's not going to be able to save the world. It'll take a few decades for life to change. You're not smoking in the car with your kids. And smoking on the airplane, that I was still alive when that was technically around.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all different
all
now.
That stuff. Oh, it's way different. So she goes to the high school and she walks into the office posing as a foreign exchange student from Canada. And it's so funny because things were so much more lax in the 80s because you couldn't, first of all, just walk into a school. And she walks right in, and the woman behind the desk, the receptionist, office manager, she's sitting there reading a romance novel at one point, but she starts explaining that, I'm here from Canada and, I need to get, my schedule and get enrolled and all this. And she just hands her and she goes, what year? And she says, I'm 11th grade. She hands her class schedule. All right, there you go. And she's like, what, don't I have to fill out? She goes, who do you think we are? Now get going or you're going to be late to gym class. And she said, well, I don't want to go to, I don't like, I'm not really a gym girl. She just stares at her. And so she goes, okay. So she goes. And that's how she registers and gets enrolled in high school
That was
in
it.
1987. So pretty funny. So
she does make it to the
class.
gym.
She does make it to the gym. And I love how they do this too. She walks in and she immediately sees the 3 murder victims and the camera focuses on each one and they do like a black and white quick montage of her and then her dead body from the murder. And then they move on to the next one and then the next one. And the gym teacher, she's like, new girl, get on the court because they're playing dodgeball. And boy, this is a pretty nasty game of dodgeball. And Jamie is just getting the shit beat out of her. And the person throwing the balls right at her as hard as she can is her mother, Pam. And apparently all 3 of these girls, or all 4 of the girls, Pam and the 3 murder victims, are all very good friends. And they are the school bullies. They are the mean girls of high school. And her mom.
It's funny. Her mom
nasty.
never mentioned that. Like,
No.
mom never mentioned she was like best friends with these girls, hung out with them all the time, and was like pretty much there for each of their deaths. Was in the same house. Not ever mentioned to her younger child. I mean, probably to protect her in a sense, but it's very Heathers. It's very, Mean Girls did it later. It's a classic trope of the popular mean girls. And of course, they're all gorgeous and they're called the Mollies based off of the fact that they always dress like Molly Ringwald because they love her. And I mean, hey, who doesn't? And there's so many John Hughes references in this movie. It makes me laugh.
Yeah, there really are.
I did like it. It's not just horror movies that they're referencing. It's just the 80s in general.
Well, and then back at the beginning of the movie, when we were still in present time and Jamie was getting ready to go out that night on Halloween, her mom did say, she was worried about her going out, didn't want her going out. And Jamie was very flippant and said, nothing's going to happen to me. You need to get over the death of your 3 friends. And she was kind of rude about it. And her mom was like, I would never talk to my mom that way. And Jamie goes, well, you never talk to your mom or she doesn't talk to you or something. So there's an estrangement with the grandmother, which we will circle back around to at the end of the film. But so there was, like you said, very brief mention of, the mom being friends, but not to the effect that they really were. We didn't know they were like besties and mean girls, know.
And why was her mom not in the collection of murders? Was it just because her birthday wasn't close by? Because they were all murdered on each of their birthdays. So maybe mom's birthday was farther away or something and it didn't work out. But we learn why later, so it's okay.
Yes, we definitely do. So Jamie, here she is back in 1987, now trying to change history and prevent these murders, but doesn't work out that way. So we get to the first murder victim, Tiffany, who in 1987 was murdered in her garage, but now because Jamie's there, it's changed everything. Tiffany still gets murdered. They're at this house party, but now it's on a waterbed. She was going to have sex with, which one was it now? I can't remember which one it was. One of the guys.
Eddie, yeah.
Eddie, that's right.
Who becomes like a famous rock star later in life.
Yep. He's also a suspect too, as one of the, as the murderer, but he leaves and she's laying there on the bed by herself, getting ready. And then the masked killer walks in. She thinks it's Eddie. Well, it's not Eddie, and pulls out the knife and stabs her, goes into the waterbed. So you've got water like flying out of the waterbed and then blood flying out of the body. And that is kill number 2. So Tiffany still dies.
I mean, that would be really disheartening to think you maybe can't change history at this point. It's a fixed event. It had to happen. Jamie tried to warn all of them and they all thought, of course, she's crazy. If
Right.
someone came up to me, I don't know if I'd believe them if they said, I'm from the future. But Jamie is smart. She says, actually, I'm a psychic. And I just,
Yes.
I predicted what's going to happen. Um, so, The
And I
blue and
think
the other great thing is they did use all practical effects on these. A little digital enhancement on like some of the blood spurting, but
Mhm.
who can blame them? You know how hard those blood hoses go. Ay,
Oh,
ay, ay. What a mess.
oh my gosh. Yeah. I seem to remember doing that once and in a film and it was oh boy, it did not work right and
It
it
never
was
goes
crazy.
well.
No, it didn't.
Never.
It didn't. Our friend Rachel was actually on set with me and she was the one in charge of it. Poor Rachel. it just it was a bad deal for her.
I was the
So,
test subject. I remember. We'll never
ugh.
forget.
Yep. So Tiffany dies, and now we should mention too that these girls, not the sharpest knives in the drawer, no pun intended, but they're your classic, like totally 80s girls who don't seem to have a lot upstairs. I mean, they're definitely caricatures. And
They
so
make every
Heather,
mistake.
oh my
Every
God, they
mistake.
do, and they just don't make a lot of sense. So Marissa was the second girl who was supposed to be murdered, and her murder took place at their family cabin in the woods. So they're at school a couple of days after Tiffany's murder, and Jamie walks in, who, by the way, is now kind of embedded with this group. She's kind of endeared herself to them, so they're not like bullying her. She's kind of sort of one of them, still a little bit on the outside, but you know, she's getting along with all of them. And Marissa's sitting there with the other girl saying, we should maybe not do my birthday party. It feels like it wouldn't be right after Tiffany died. And Jamie's like, no, you shouldn't. We should like do a girls trip into the city. And Marissa's like, oh, we can stay at my parents' condo. And Jamie's like, yeah, let's do that. So the girls end up getting into the car and they end up going. It's Pam. It's not Tiffany because she's dead, but it's Heather and Marissa. And during the trip, Jamie just decides to doze off and take a nap. She wakes up when they get to the condo, which just happens to be the cabin in the woods. And
Yep.
she's like, what the fuck? Where are we? Where did you bring us? It's my family's condo. That's not a condo. Oh, maybe it was a cabin. Well, we're here. And then the guys show up in the truck, the boyfriends, and it wasn't
With
supposed to be
alcohol
them.
and pop brownies.
Oh, but
Ay,
yeah.
ay, ay.
Yeah. So
I do
here we
think
are now.
it is interesting too. Before this, Jamie goes and befriends her good friend Amelia's mom, who she knows can help with the time machine because it's technically her plan. Her name is
Right.
Lauren.
Right.
And she's not part of the bad mean girl clique. So she's kind of talking it through. She's the one and only person she tells the truth to of I'm from the future. I know your daughter. I know she
Mhm.
has the notebook. And Lauren is like, okay, I believe you. I'll help you work on it because she's smart. She's one
Yeah.
of the good science nerds. We always need one of those around.
Yes.
But yeah, so at this time too, Lauren's trying to work on the time machine, try to fix it because oh my God, one of my favorite / stupid parts, the machine requires Wi-Fi, which does
Oh my
not
God.
exist in 1987.
No,
So they're
it
trying to
sure
figure out a
doesn't.
workaround because it's like the GPS is required to get you back or you'll just be floating around in nowhere land, which sounds terrifying. Hope that doesn't
Right.
happen. But yeah, thought that was interesting that she did go and trust her friend's mom to do it. And thankfully, it's the right person to trust. You never know
And
who you can trust. They don't know who the
No.
killer is. So,
And I was glad that Lauren trusted Jamie. It was like, okay, she has an actual ally now and a friend. So she's not trying to do this all by herself, and now she's got some credibility and, the time machine is an actual thing. So yeah, completely.
But the girls are at the cabin, and the boys are there too. She's also like actively trying to not make her parents, who are both there, hook up early because we hear like, oh, dad dad tells the story of, oh, we hooked up later in college, like after college. If we had hooked up in high school, it never would have gone well because everyone was cheating on everybody. And
Right.
um, of course, she lets it slip that, oh, you're supposed to be with him, with Blake. And Pam goes, ooh, okay. And then actively just gets like trying to get with him the whole rest of the time. And so instead of, it's like an opposite Back to the Future of trying to get your parents together. No, she's trying to split her parents up.
Oh my God. There's a scene out in the school parking lot that I just laughed my ass off because the parents are making out and Jamie just goes stomping up to him. No, too horny, too soon. And they're just smiling at her and she's just looking at him like, no, don't do this.
Leave room for Jesus, she yells at one point. I love that.
Yes, she does. Heather actually is the one that gets killed next. This was supposed to be Marissa, but it's actually Heather so the timeline is now all jumbled up and other things are changing too. So it's not going the way that it did in 1987 because Jamie's there, making things do what they're not supposed to do.
Right.
So,
it does change the theory of everything's fixed in time. Now we know some things can change, but it is too bad that the girls still have to die out of order, but still die.
Right. Still die. And
we also get a note that the killer at the first murder at the waterbed, there's a little note in all the pictures that were done by the news that Jamie left for the people in the future so that Amelia could figure out how to fix the time machine. Because, of course, the time machine's broken in that time.
Right.
She's trying to fix it there, too. So we have her mom, back when she was a teenager, fixing the time machine. And we have Amelia in the future fixing the time machine so that hopefully some way they can get back.
So Amelia sees a picture from Chris because Chris, the podcaster, went to high school with all of them in 1987. And he took pictures of like the crime scene and the parties and everything else. And in one of those pictures, they see Jamie. And Amelia's like, oh my God, she's back in 1987. She's changing things because Chris, the podcaster, is an expert on these murders. And he said, it's weird because the first kill was supposed to happen in the garage. And this says Tiffany was killed on a waterbed. And that's not how that would happen. And then they started looking at the pictures and realized, oh, Jamie's back there changing the timeline. So things are really out of whack here. So, yeah.
It's always an interesting idea. The Mandela effect is what they quote it as, or we also like to call it the butterfly effect. Because they remember a little bit like, oh, I swear it was in the garage, but no, it for sure was in the room. I have the photo evidence right here. And we have those moments, I think, in everyday life all the time of like, oh, I thought this, but it's actually this. And they explain it as, well, some people think that it's because somehow the timeline has changed. Maybe someone went back in time and changed it, or it's a butterfly effect thing. So they understand now, at least in the future, or, the present, that they are having things actively change, but it'll continue to change as long as Jamie is there. So then we get back to the gang trying to figure out what to do next, though.
So, yeah, I mean, Heather ends up getting killed at the cabin, and it's kind of a crazy sequence. I mean, it's people are running, trying to get away. And so she gets stabbed 16 times. So Heather's dead and was supposed to be Marissa at the cabin, not Heather. So that's out of whack. So now they end up at the sheriff's office. Jamie had collected some blood from the killer because he had been hit and left some blood behind. And she put this like bloody napkin or whatever in or paper towel into a bag and gives it to the sheriff when he comes walking out. And he goes, "What's this?" "Well, it's the killer's blood. You can do, DNA. And he's looking at her. "What's DNA?" "Well, I don't know what it stands for, but it's something individual. And you just put it in the worldwide computer or something." And he starts laughing at her. And he goes, oh, okay, yeah, we'll just upload it into the whatever computer. And then he just takes it and drops it on the floor and goes back to address the kids, which I thought is funny because DNA wasn't quite here yet. I think the year before they had done some DNA work in England, but it wasn't in the United States in 1987. So nobody knew what that was yet. Everything's out of order here. And on Halloween night, Jamie and her allies lure the killer out to this haunted house.
It's at the amusement park, which is great because that's kind of, we find out, Lauren says, oh, we can't use the photo booth anymore as your time machine. We need something bigger, better, and also need to figure out a Wi-Fi thing, which they kind of sort of do figure out when TV is broadcasting nearby on Jamie's cell phone, which she brought with her, which is dying, of course, because there's no way to charge it.
Right. No charger.
It did show that there's Wi-Fi when they were like close by to the satellites. So they figure out, okay, they do actually broadcast at the amusement park. And we could use one of the gravity whirl machines. The
Gravitron is what it is known as. In this, they've renamed it to the quantum drop. But you know what it is. It's that flying saucer thing that spins and you're up against the wall and you slide up on these, that's what this is.
Yep. So they figured out they could use that as the new time machine holder of sorts. And they have to have the broadcasting. So everything has to go right. And we know when there's a plan, something always has to go awry, doesn't it? But
sure.
At least she gets the rest of the girls and the boys too, to come up with a plan to trap the killer in the haunted house that's at the amusement park. They're going to come out from all sides. They're going to use Marissa as the bait still, because they know she is one of the targets at least. And so she does go in and you see everyone hiding in different spots, either pretending to be statues or hiding in like the bathroom stall. And the killer does, of course, follow them in.
And he's attacking them because they're attacking him, and he's attacking all of them and fighting. And then he gets it with a scythe, and he's dead. He goes down, and it turns out that it's Doug, the school principal.
And he later becomes the school principal. Yes.
He later becomes the school principal. And he's seeking revenge for the death of his girlfriend, Trish, who died while drinking drunk. It's an accident that the girls kind of caused because Trish was at their party and they let her drive drunk. And so that's what happened. By the way, her nickname was Fat Trish. Another thing that Jamie stepped up and goes, you can't call her Fat Trish. It's Trish. You can't do that. That's just another one of those moments. But so Doug is dead, but that's not the end, because now we have another really crazy Back to the Future moment here. So we're going to go back to Lauren, who is the mother of Amelia we've been talking about. She's the one who had the original plans for the time machine. Her and her daughter, Amelia, in present day, they're both wicked smart and know more about science than I ever could know. I sucked at science when I was in school. And so they converted the gravitron or the quantum drop into this time machine. And there's a second killer that now shows up and actually slits Marissa's throat. So she ends up dying after all. So all three of the original girls who were killed still get killed in this alternate timeline. And we find out that the real mastermind here is Chris, the podcaster.
Fucking podcaster.
I know. So he chases Lauren and Jamie out of the haunted house. They run by Chris, the podcaster's dad, the news guy, who is standing there reporting, and he's talking about wrapping it up. And as the girls run by, they realize, oh no, if he shuts down, we're going to lose our signal to power the time machine. So they yell, killer behind us, don't stop, there's a killer behind us. So he keeps the broadcast going. And then Chris, who's still in his full mask, takes the knife and jabs it into the side of his father's head. And that is kill number 6. So, yeah, that's Norm Dubassage, the Pulitzer Award winning newscaster who is now no more.
And it didn't die in the original, so it's going to mess up the timeline in the future. But
Oh,
they're not
boy.
worried about that at this point. They're worried about getting to the time machine, having it working.
Yep.
And unfortunately, yeah, Chris went and knocked out Amelia in the future to use the time machine to get there in the first place. So now
Right.
there's no one on the other side helping to get them back to the future. They have to do it all themselves.
Right.
But all 3 of them make it into the quantum, whatever that's called, the
Yeah,
gravitron.
the
We
quantum
know it.
drop, gravitron.
Yeah.
Yeah. The puka whirl,
Mhm.
if you want to call it that. So, yeah, Chris ends up in the time machine, and Lauren gets out, and Jamie starts it up, and there's this little struggle, this little fight. And Chris ends up getting killed when Jamie pulls out a nail gun, which we saw earlier. So it wasn't like she just pulled this thing out of thin air and just
Oh, they planted it, yeah.
and nails him. And then he is kind of just vaporized by the time machine, which is interesting. And that is kill number 7. So Chris the podcaster is dead in the past in 1987. And then we finally make it back to present day to see what kind of a mess the world is in. And it's not really a mess, but man, there's a lot of things that have changed. Pam, who is Jamie's mother, is still alive. So she didn't
Yay.
get killed. Yay. However, the future's definitely been rewritten because her parents did get together a lot sooner than the college years. And because they got together sooner, they had a child before Jamie, and they named him Jamie.
Mhm.
So now in this new universe, Jamie, the girl, is now Colette. So she got a whole different name now. Her brother has a husband. They have a child together. And you see a pride flag in the house, which wasn't there, before, but now it is to represent that. The town is completely transformed. They now have a weed brownie loving police chief, which is great. We saw her earlier, in the past. A video game company founded by the former groundskeeper of the theme park, who in the original timeline just didn't make much of himself. But in 1987, he was briefly Jamie's lab partner in high school. And I got to say, a really good red herring, because they made him out to be so creepy that for a bit you thought maybe he was the killer. I mean, he was sitting there scribbling in his notebook at one point, and it looked like it was all very dark stuff. Well, he was writing down ideas for video games, and he was a total video game nerd and totally helpless. Well, with the way things changed, he's now this multi-millionaire video game developer and everything else. And then Chris the podcaster fled to a monastery in India. But Lauren still keeps tabs on him from time to time to see what's up there. So
Just to make sure.
just to make sure. So anyway, I know, kind of confusing, but I would want to watch it again because I know I probably missed a few things. Movies like this, where you're dealing with alternate timelines, it's always good to just kind of retrace your steps and go through it again. And I probably will do that again, but I thought it was a very entertaining movie.
When you have to analyze a movie, or you've been taught how to do that, it kind of sticks in your brain. I was looking for the faults a few times. Like when they were making 90s references, they do have a lot of Scream references kind of shoved in there, which doesn't make sense because that didn't come out till 96. So I don't know why they put that in there. They didn't need to. There was plenty of other 80s horror movies that they didn't do any like Nightmare on Elm Street. They only did a little bit of Halloween, a little bit of Friday the 13th, but just having things anywhere close to 90s we need to stick to our decades, man.
Yeah.
I also thought with a title like Totally Killer that it was going to be like California, like Surfer Bros, that kind of thing. Thought that was interesting. They didn't go with that. I understand.
Right.
Totally was a word you guys all used back in the
Oh,
day,
yeah.
didn't you,
It
Brian?
was.
I could so see you doing that.
Although gnarly was kind of out by the time we got into the later
Mm.
80s, but early 80s, totally rad and gnarly. Those were all
Uh,
pretty well established. Yeah.
I would describe this movie as what if there was a killer in Back to the Future?
Yeah.
Like it's fun. It's
Hmm.
rewatchable, but it's kind of still like a disposable throwaway for me.
Hmm.
I don't know if it'll be like a rewatch every year kind of thing. It was very similar to some of the movies coming out, this past decade of like Freaky or A Happy Death Day.
Right.
Just turning an original on its head a little bit. And it
Yep.
was fun,
Yeah.
but did I love it? No.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Final kill count was 7. My favorite character, we never talked about him. He was in the friend group. He was one of the guys, the Letterman jacket, Randy Finkel, who always made the sexual references, was grabbing his crotch, talking about his hormones and everything, and being so inappropriate. I think he got chastised more by Jamie than the other friends did. He was just wildly inappropriate all the time. He was probably my favorite character.
I don't know. I did like Jamie. I think she was trying her best and at least noticing, it was a little meta in that sense of noticing where they were going wrong and trying to fix it and yet still not being able to stop it. Oh, that's so frustrating.
Ugh,
But she was
yeah.
funny. Yes, calling out anyone problematic, it needed to start somewhere, I guess. We do it all the time now, but
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we
yeah.
do. Favorite kill. Well, that's a tough one because I liked a lot of them. I do like nail gun kills,
Mhm.
so probably going to go with podcaster Chris Dubassage. Plus, I didn't like him. I always thought there was something off about him. So that's probably my favorite kill.
Yeah, creepy podcast people, right? Ugh,
Yeah,
they're the
I know.
worst.
Stay away from those guys and gals.
Yeah, ooh, I think I'm gonna go with waterbed kill because waterbed kills
Ooh,
are hysterical to me.
it really was.
Did he do it on purpose or did he just miss? That's the
I think he
question.
just missed. I don't think he did it on purpose, but it was pretty entertaining. It's like you know, just this fountain of water going up and then a fountain of blood going up. It was like, the Bellagio in Vegas watching the fountain
Mhm.
shows, the different colored water. That was great. Yeah, no, I agree. I like that one too. Favorite scene? Probably when she met her mother and her mother was so arrogant and abusive and just nasty to her and not what I was expecting her to be. I thought it was very, very funny. And then she went to call her mom a couple of times and she had to catch herself. Mom, masita, hot mamacita. Just what you just want to go les with me or something? What are you talking about? It's like,
Mhm.
no, I don't think so. But so I think that whole gym scene was just, she kept getting pelted with those dodgeballs to the point where she ended up with a bloody nose by the time it was
Yeah.
over.
Do kids not
So,
play dodgeball anymore, or is they make it soft? I still played dodgeball like that in middle school, high school.
hmm
We
yeah,
need someone
I
young.
mean,
Come tell us, do you play dodgeball or nah?
well, I mean, maybe not in 2023. I don't know. I don't
Mhm.
know. It's been a while since I've been to school, so I couldn't tell you. Yeah. So, what was your favorite scene?
Ooh. I did like the cabin in the woods, because of course it's a good reference, but
Sure.
also, yeah, watching them do everything wrong. They're getting high. Oh, she has to make a comment about how 80s weed sucks because it's not very strong. She's like
Yep.
holding up the baggie and going, "This is just like dirt, dirt and stems."
I could
Um,
give you a gummy that had
this
this
big.
big that would be more powerful than what's in that bag. Yeah, that was
Hmm.
pretty funny.
And then, yeah, like they're doing all the wrong things. They're in the hot tub. And when she said, let's not go outside, they go, let's go to the hot tub. And then, yeah, just they're having sex when they shouldn't be. They, all the bad tropes that we know, they did it and they did die, but at least not more people died.
That's true. Yeah, there was only one at the cabin, so it was interesting, but kind of following with what was supposed to happen. It was just supposed to be, those girls. How screwed are we? Well, it involves time travel. I think I'm pretty techie. I could figure out the time machine and go somewhere else and sometime else and just get away from all the silliness. I know that I would still exist because it was Lauren that said, you won't just disappear if your parents never get together. You just won't have a home to go back to. So knowing that I won't just, vanish. Yeah, I would go to some other place and time and just be done with this silliness of the murders.
See, as someone who these movies are definitely made for, of thinking the 80s were so cool, I would go back there, but I'd probably hop on a bus and go somewhere more fun, like maybe LA. LA would be fun in the 80s. I would love to roller skate with all the bright, hot colors and try good Coke and, all the things.
Try all the things.
Mm-hmm.
God, you probably want to go back to the late 70s for the true era of roller skating, the way it was done. 80s was fun. Yeah. I mean, 80s was fun for roller skating too, but from the stories I've heard from my sisters who were doing that in the 70s, yeah, I think the 70s probably have the 80s beat. I don't know.
Well, plus the music too. Oh my gosh. You guys had the best music. I hate our music. It sucks.
We really did have the best music. I have to agree with that for sure.
So I don't think we're screwed. And also, we know all the rules of these movies.
That's true.
If we get to go back in time, just like Jamie does, we know the rules, and we could at least take care of ourselves. If our parents were in trouble, I think we could probably do a better job at saving them. Just saying.
Probably. Yeah, I don't think I'm really going to be that screwed. I think I'm going to get through this. Final girl score for Jamie. I would give her a 9 just because it's time travel. She actually had to step up and do more. So
I agree. I think, yes, she could have done probably a little better. But it's really hard to convince people you're from the future. So I get that. Yeah. I would probably give her, 8.5.
Okay. Now, important question. What's your star grade?
I gave it a 3.5.
Okay.
It was entertaining, but I had problems with it, and that takes me out of a movie if I have a problem with it. So.
Okay. Mine was a 4.
You?
Mine was a 4, so not too far off from you. There were a few things that kind of took me out, like you said. Highly enjoyable, though. I really, really had fun with it, and just a fun romp back through the 80s. And as I said, I mean, being a high school junior, well, what was I, in 87? I wasn't a junior yet. I was like a freshman in 87. So it was not that far off from what they did in the movie. I mean, it was obviously some of it was very over the top, but the fashions, the way people talked, and even, the whole politically correct thing. As soon as she got to the high school, she looked up at the side of the building and saw an Indian painted on there. And she goes, "Oh, that's politically incorrect. I knew that was going to happen." All of that stuff. That was all 1987. So having lived through that, it was pretty accurate. So yeah, for sure. Slasher survival tip. If someone offers you time travel, use it to avoid the killer, not to attend a themed party in 1987, because nothing good has ever happened at a slasher movie party. Ever. So there it is.
Ain't that the truth?
Want to shout out to Courtney from the Jaunty Haunts podcast, our good friend Courtney, who kept a secret for 30 years that she can see ghosts. And she has an amazing podcast, and she's getting ready for new episodes in the near future. And she's just fascinating. Some of the guests that she has had on there and the topics that she covers. She got to visit Sleepy Hollow, I think a couple of times while she was living on the East Coast, which very jealous of. And we want to talk to her about that and do the movie Sleepy Hollow. So, very excited to have Courtney back later in the year. But check out the John T. Haunts podcast with Courtney wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Scare preview time. Movies that we're excited about that are coming out in the near future, or maybe just came out, either or. So mine is a movie called Honey Bunch, which is coming out February 13th. It's directed by Madeline Sims Fewer and Dusty Manicinelli. It stars Grace Glowicki, Ben Petrie, and Jason Isaacs, who is one of my favorite actors. I think he's great. It follows Diana, who wakes from a coma with fragmented memories. Her husband takes her to an experimental trauma center hidden in the remote wilderness. Yet the reason eludes her. As fragments of her memory start to return, so do disturbing and sinister revelations about her marriage. So looks really good, coming out here in just about a week or so on the 13th of February.
That sounds fun. I like it. All right.
Yeah.
Now, when this comes out, technically, the movie I want to talk about has already been released. But
Sure.
Especially after we did Until Dawn, this felt very fitting. Iron Lung just came out on January 30th. It was actually directed, written, and stars Mark Fishbach, who many YouTube lovers would know as Markiplier. And he plays all of the horror video games, gameplays. And as soon as he played this video game, he reached out to the creator and said, I want to make a movie on this. It was a very interesting story and could be expanded on. And he wanted to break away from making YouTube original movies on there and doing feature films. And good on him, because I think the creativity that's in YouTube creators might just like redo some of the creativity in Hollywood. That's what I'm hoping, at least. I haven't seen the movie yet. It's come out. I'm going to go see it soon, I promise. I'll talk about it next time.
I am too. A friend of mine went and saw it this week, and I haven't caught up with her to see if she liked it or not. But it looks very interesting, and it's one that I want to go see as well. So yeah,
they break the record on how much blood has been used. Ever since Evil Dead 2013, they used double the amount. I can't wait to see. The blood.
Well, there you go. That's it right there. I mean, that's a winner right there.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of blood, we are getting ready for Valentine's Day, and to celebrate that next week, we're going to bring you 1981's My Bloody Valentine, and we'll have special guest Aaron from AB Horror Movies with us on that podcast as well, talking about that movie. So join us. Shay, thank you for filling in this week for Michael. Always good to have you here.
Anytime.
Make sure you subscribe to us. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. Tell all your friends about us. And don't forget to follow us on YouTube. The video version of this podcast is in full color and all that good stuff. And you can watch the episodes instead of just listening to them. Email us at openingkillpod@gmail.com or message us if you have a film suggestion or just want to get in touch and reach out. So we will talk to you next week with My Bloody Valentine on Opening Kill.
Opening Kill is produced by Mystic Cloud Productions and hosted by Brian O'Connor and Michael Duran. New episodes drop every Thursday wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And don't forget, you can watch the video versions on YouTube. See you next time. If you survive the opening kill.